that remember, I'll be going back to the States on Tuesday, and over the years, put out newsletters and, about once a week or twice a month or whatever. So if I could give you my email address if you want to be on my mailing list. I don't know how long I'm going to continue it, but at least I plan to get back into it when I get home. My email is my name, Tom Fahy, T-O-M. We call it Fahy, you call it Fahy. Tom Fahy, F-A-H-Y, all together. T-O-M-F-A-H-Y. At Comcast.net. That's spelled C-O-M-C-A-S-T.net. And just send me an email, say I won't be on the mailing list.
So basically the next 15 minutes we're going to talk about the miracle, the warning and the chastisement. Our Lady appeared in Garabandal where Tom has the Centre for the Divine Will, the House of Sanctification, and he was inspired to open that because after the new era begins, the period of peace, everybody was flocking to the permanent sign, this permanent sign from the miracle onwards, and people will be learning about the divine will. So that's the rationale or inspiration behind the House of Sanctification. And if anybody wants to go to Garabandal and they can stay at the House of Sanctification, they can learn about the divine will and so on. Everybody here know about Garabandal? Anybody, this is completely new to it? No. Okay. There is, sir, it's new to you. Okay. There is a certain time frame to events. Yeah, and we'll just do those after Garabandal. But there are certain events that are to occur worldwide and in Garabandal. And I suppose the book that Tom wrote is called Suddenly and Unexpectedly, a true story, non-fiction. It begins actually with a very graphic account of the Night of the Screens. Did anyone ever hear of that? To the whole group?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe Tom will take it from there, and if you have any questions on the time frame or particular prophecies, feel free to ask. When is it going to happen?
Well, Garabandal came into my life, I think I told y'all that I had a conversion of heart when I was in New York City. The next day, God led me to the book called Garabandal. And I promoted it with all my intensity until I learned about the divine will. And then it became second to the divine will. But anyway, the events that have to take place before the great miracle. By the way, I want to talk about the great miracle first so that we can back up. During the great miracle that is to take place at Garabandal, which they say will last approximately 15 minutes, the sinners will be converted, the unbelievers will believe, and those who have sick, she said the sick will be cured. But the central point of this miracle is something that would cause us to die of joy. We would actually die, except that God will give us a grace so we don't die. We will see the glory of God. During the miracle of Garabandal, we will see the glory of God. Scripture says no one can see God and live, because your soul just goes out of your body right toward where it came from. And so now we back up. The miracle, the miracle will take place on a Thursday evening at 8:30 p.m. We don't know which Thursday and what year. Conchita knows, and she was called to the Vatican in 1966 and told it all to Cardinal Ottaviani. I think he was head of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. And she also got a blessing from Pope Paul VI. And he spoke about Garabandal as being the life of Our Lady on earth. because she appeared there about 2,000 times. And she was present in all parts of that village and the hillside where the pine trees are. That's where the miracle's going to take place, over the pine trees up on the hill. And after the miracle, God's going to leave a permanent sign from heaven over those trees that will be there for people to see until the end of this world. I learned about it in 1970, and although the apparitions began in 1961. Now, backing up to the events prior to the miracle that are going to take place, that lady not only told the girls, but in some cases, she actually showed them what's going to happen. And the first major event, we're not talking about a big event, is going to take place, and I wrote about it in my book called Suddenly and Unexpectedly, The End of Our Times, is that communism will come back. Communism will come back, and led by Russia, it will bring a great, great tribulation upon the world, the whole world. Everyone's going to suffer from it. And she said that, I'm just going to tell you like you said, because I didn't make it up. She said that the rivers would turn red with blood. The priests would have to go into hiding, and Mary Lowly thinks several of them will be martyrs. And she said the church arrived at the point of seeming to disappear. Okay, that tribulation will go on until they get dominion of the entire world. The United States is not going to be able to stop them. The United States is too sinful to be able to stop them. And then when things are at the worst, and it could be when there's no more public mass, God Himself will intervene on behalf, to everyone, to every single person on the face of the earth. He will bring what they call a warning or notice, warning. And they will have elimination of conscience. They will see themselves before God as they really stand before God, as they really, really are. And nothing else will be noticeable then. The only thing they'll be thinking about and seeing and observing and hearing is God and them. And that will change the whole conscience of the world. And this was prophesied many centuries ago. One of them was St. Edmund Campion of England. Right before they killed him, he said, there's a day coming in the future when the whole conscience of the world will change. And then Anna Maria Taigi of Rome, she's blessed. She foresaw that there would be a day in which God would illuminate our consciences and change the conscience of the world. So that's the first major event that's to happen. Now, the proximate sign that this is going to happen is when the Pope goes to Moscow. Now, we don't know how and when or what circumstances or what will induce him to go there, but Conchita said when the Pope goes to Russia to Moscow, that's what she said, when the Pope goes to Russia to Moscow, then on the way back, or on the way when he gets back, that's when the Great Tribulation of Communism begins. And apparently she also spoke about a revolution in the Vatican would take place. And she said, she told a private person who was a reporter for a German newspaper, which we visited, he was told that to get on he lived in Germany, to get on the very first plane you can get on with your friends, don't drive, don't go through France, don't ride a bus, head straight for southern Spain or Portugal. Conchita has an apartment in Portugal, which someone paid for, and she's still alive. Three of them alive, and one of them died. Mary Lowly died in 2009. And this gentleman looked right at me and said, you need to get an apartment in town, and I can help you get one. Well, later, a year and a half later, I went down there with my wife and a co-worker, and just like that, we got an apartment. And the lady who told us about it is studying Louisa's writings. We didn't even know who she was, never heard of her before. And so our organization got the apartments because our intention, because we have this retreat house in Spain called the House of Sanctification, and our purpose there is to make known the divine will. And we have the favor of the pastor. He likes us a lot. And the people respect us there because we mind our own business. You know, the small village over there, they mind everybody else's business, but they say, we like those Americans. They mind their own business, you know. They come down here, it's freezing cold, and go to Mass, and they go back and they mind their own business. But anyway, we've had several thousand people come there to learn about the divine will since we opened it in the year 2000. And we had Anne, who was the director. She says that there were about 1,000 priests have come. I doubt it was that much, but she says it was. And then we've had a couple of bishops come to the House of Sanctification. And the purpose of that house is to teach the divine will. So when people come there, we can put them up overnight, and we can feed them in the morning and in the evening. What I call an enhanced continental breakfast and a small meal at night. During the middle of the day, you have to get your own meal. But right now, it's not like it was years ago when we were ignorantly bliss about the Schengen agreement with the EU, about you have to can only be 90 days in the EU before you got to get out. So we were ignorant about all that, so we just stayed and left when we wanted to. But now they're more tough on that, so they told us that we couldn't extend beyond the 90 days in Spain. So we have permission in Portugal, but last 2 years we could have stayed a lot longer than 90 days. But in Spain we were told we couldn't stay beyond the 90 days. So we left. But so we have and during the springtime, usually around the Easter season, normally when we get most of our visitors. But this year we'll be closed. We've already locked the house up tight, we did everything. Got it all ready for closing. And we got a gate, on the door to lock, we locked it all up and everything. But I don't know, we do plan to go back in October, but we don't know what's going to happen between now and then. So that happened about around 2007. We started closing down after several weeks in the spring. We closed down until until the next spring, instead of staying all year. Ashley Ann, who was the director, she stayed there with a helper from mid-March to the end of October every year until 2007. So we have the things that are coming first. Tribulation of communism, which will come suddenly and unexpectedly. Everybody thinks, well, communism's over, no, it ain't coming back. And she said, when communism comes back, and she said that in 1960, before communism supposedly went away, it didn't. But she said when it comes back, Spain won't suffer as much as the rest of Europe because they had all the suffering of communism in the late 1930s, Spanish Civil War. But the hopeful thing is that she said that it would not be of a long duration. I don't know what she means by that exactly, but that's what she said. It won't be of a long duration. And then God will stop it, because when he sends a warning, he stops the tribulation of communism. And then the miracle, the common story is that the miracle will take place within 12 months following the warning where everybody sees themselves before God. Within that following 12 months. But after I wrote my book, I discovered something that I didn't know before. And I discovered that in 1975, on July 27th, Mary Lowley, one of the girls, was given an interview. She gave an interview. And I don't know whether it was the first one she gave in public after the apparitions. It could have been, but I'm not sure. But anyway, they asked her, of course, well, what's the year of the warning? Mary Lowley was told the year of the warning but not the date. And Conchita was told the exact date of the miracle. And Mary Lowly said, well, I was not forbidden to tell the year of the warning, but I don't feel comfortable to tell you. And I said, well, why is that? And she said, because the warning and the miracle will take place in the same year. And she didn't want to give away the year of the miracle, because Conchita was given that duty to announce it 8 days prior to when it happens. And she has kept it secret except for when she went to the Vatican. Now, the next interview that she gave that I know about was 1979, I think it was. And during that interview, in the meantime, she had talked to a priest, gave her advice, and he told her to say that after the miracle, there will be, after the warning, the miracle will come within 12 months. But she, in the first interview, she said they will happen the same year. And I tend to believe that's really what will take place. But because a young lady, 26 years old, and she's telling people it'd be the same year, normally we speak about the calendar year. And that's what we normally do. And I think that's what she probably really meant. But the priest advised her just to say that the miracle will take place within 12 months of the warning. I think it will be just a few months. That's a personal feeling. See if I can remember something else now. Okay, now about the chastisement. The second night of the scream, when they screamed 3.5 hours, they saw the chastisement of fire. They said that they weren't given permission to talk a lot about the chastisement, but accidentally or otherwise, they have let out a few things about the chastisement. Maybe they didn't intend to, but just forgot about they weren't supposed to talk about. But they said it would be worse than fire above you, fire below you, fire beside you. And I know what they were talking about because Conchita said one time that she saw people burning from the inside out. So I know what they mean when they said above you, beside you, below you, without saying it, the whole thing. And she said people will be running crazy like, and they'll be running to the streams and lakes and rivers and ocean, and they won't do them a bit of good, it'll be worse. When they go into the water, the burning will be even worse than it was before you got to the water. And and so in Louisa, Jesus spoke about it in somewhat indirectly about the great chastisement that's coming. And he said that when I have destroyed a large part of humanity, then my kingdom will flourish easily over the earth. Words like that, that's not the exact word, but he said, when I have destroyed a large part of humanity. Don't forget, he destroyed the whole humanity at the flood except for 8 people. So we're greatly worse than they were then. And not only that, we have all kinds of ways to commit sins that they didn't have then. So we're a much worse race of people at this time in history. So you might as well just get used to the fact that these things are coming. And of course, in Carbondale, not the only place you guys speaks about chastisements. But Carbondale, I feel that Carbondale, what has been told is going to happen, is a preparation for the coming of the kingdom. God has to get people back to a good order again. And there will be a good order for a while, Conchita said. People will return to order. But after a while, they're going to drift away again. And when that happens, fire from heaven. Even during the warning, we're going to feel a burning sensation on our bodies. It won't consume our flesh, but we'll feel a burning sensation during the warning. And so that's one thing I forgot. And now, what were you saying?
I just asked about the 3 days of darkness. Does that come into Garabandal?
3 days of darkness.
Oh, 3 days of dark. Well, I don't know for sure, but I don't think she spoke about it at Garabandal. But it seems reasonable that the 3 days of darkness will come when the chastisement comes. That's what I think, but I don't know. She didn't speak about it at Garabandal. Now, one other thing we learned, I learned, and others have also learned it somehow. But back in 1988, two priests that I knew quite well went to visit Mary Lowley in Massachusetts. And I don't know what they talked about. I'm sure they talked about Garabandal, of course. But when they were leaving, they were getting in their car and putting their bags in their car. And she hollered up from the door. She said, "Father, I can tell you this, the warning will be in an even-numbered year." Okay, and that priest told that to me twice, about 2 years apart. So I've always held that as something that I believe, that the warning will come in an even-numbered year. And if she's right about that interview in 1975, then both the miracle and the warning will be in an even-numbered year.
If the world repented, could we avoid this?
Well, we can delay it, but we can't avoid it. The chastisement. Now, I think it's too late to avoid the tribulation of communism. Nobody's even thinking about trying to avoid it and praying against it, because they don't even know about it. It's going to be suddenly and unexpectedly. Nobody expects it. But as far as the chastisement, everybody will know it's coming. And they should know. But according to what Conchita told her aunt, that people will be good after the warning and miracle, but they'll, after so many years or whatever, they're going to start going away from God again. But God wants a human race that's disposed for the divine will. So He doesn't want to put up with people that don't want to love Him or do His will. He just going to let them go. I mean, He doesn't want people on earth that don't want to at least love Him and do His will.
We'll finish up with the Angelus at 6 o'clock, and if you want to continue further conversation tomorrow at number 9 Berkeley Street, Dublin 7.